So, the other day, I was watching a Nathaniel Bandy video called I 100%ed every Luigi's Mansion game in 100 hours, where he does exactly what the title says. He tries to 100% every Luigi's Mansion game in less than 100 hours. It's a great video, and in the end, he finishes the last game with only 2.5 hours remaining. And considering he started with 100, that's cutting it pretty close. After I finished the video though, I knew what I had to do. I had to do this with Pikmin, but not in 100 hours, not even in 50. I wanted to 100% every Pikmin game in 24 hours, which doesn't even seem possible, right? The Pikmin series isn't long, but it does have some pretty long games, particularly 2 and 4. Pikmin 4, for example, took me 29 hours to 100% on my first playthrough. So, yeah, this is gonna be tough. It's gonna be a full day of playing nothing but Pikmin, and I don't even know if it's possible. Yeah, this one's gonna be rough, guys. So, before we begin, let's go over the rules real quick. First one is, I only have to 100% the main story in these games. So stuff like Pikmin 2 and 3's mission mode and Pikmin 4's Olimar's Shipwrecked Tale won't count towards completion. Second is the timer starts when I select the file and ends when the final cutscene starts. Finally, this challenge will not include Hey Pikmin or Pikmin Bloom. I know the title says every Pikmin game, but I really meant every real Pikmin game. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into the challenge. So the game I decided to start first with was Pikmin 1, and this is mostly because it's the game I'm most comfortable with. I was pretty confident I could finish this game really quickly, and I would have to if I wanted any chance to beat all 4 games in 24 hours. HowLongToBeat.com estimates that Pikmin 1 takes 7 hours and 49 minutes to beat. And this is just referring to the main story, so I don't even know if it takes into account the 5 mandatory ship parts you need to 100% the game. I should probably mention too, that to 100% the story in Pikmin 1, all we need to do is to collect those 30 ship parts. Once we do, the final cutscene will play and the game is over. Okay, let's stop beating around the bush and actually get into this run. Day 1 of Pikmin 1 is always the same. We grabbed the engine and grew 25 red Pikmin. Yeah, I know, it's kinda boring. Day 2 is where we start making some moves though. We nabbed ourselves 2 ship parts, the Eternal Fuel Dynamo and Nova Blaster. We also found yellow Pikmin and used them to blow down this wall, which you're normally supposed to use blues for. Finally, we ended the day by bringing the Whimsical Radar and Extraordinary Bolt as close to the base as possible. On day 3, we scooped up those 2 ship parts we left by the base the night before, then grabbed the Radiation Canopy and Shock Absorber. After that, we killed the Snagret, obtained the Geiger Counter, and ended the day. There was still one more part in the Forest of Hope, and you can get it without blue Pikmin, but it's really slow and kind of risky. So I thought it'd be faster to come back with blues and just get it then. On day 4, we obtained a whopping 5 parts from the Forest Navel. The Space Float, Ionium Jet, Automatic Gear, Omega Stabilizer, and Gravity Jumper. Oh yeah, and we also found blue Pikmin and blasted down this wall with yellows, which saves us a bunch of time because these Dark Bramble walls take forever to break down the normal way. On day 5, instead of going back to the Forest Navel, we went to the Impact site. This was mostly so I could farm up blue Pikmin super quickly with these pearls, which happened to give 50 Pikmin in total. We're gonna need blues for a part in the Forest Navel and most of the Distant Spring, and this is the best way I could think of to get a lot quickly. We also needed the Positron Generator, so we had to come this way anyways, so it's really a win-win. On day 6, we went back to the Forest Navel and obtained the remaining ship parts, the Analog Computer, Libra, Guard Satellite, and Anti-Dioxin Filter. Day 7, we went back to the Forest of Hope to clean up the last ship part there with our blues and then moved on to day 8. Day 8, we were able to sweep across the Distant Spring and collect 5 ship parts. The Repair Type Bolt, Massage Machine, Zirconium Rotor, Interstellar Radio, and UV Lamp. I was hoping this would mean we could finish the Distant Spring in 2 days, but I was wrong, because on day 9, we were only able to get 4 ship parts. The bowsprit, number 2 Ionium jet, Kronos reactor, and pilot seat. Which meant we had to come back on day 10 just to grab the gluon drive, which kinda sucks, but it is what it is. With that though, we already made it to the final trial and the final boss of the game, Emperor Bulblats, who we swiftly took down and returned the final part of the game back to the ship, beating Pikmin 1 in 2 hours and 4 minutes. Which, by the way, I was extremely pleased with, considering the world record for obtaining all the parts in this game is 53 minutes. In fact, this time would rank me just outside the top 50 in the official speedrun leaderboards. So, yeah, this was a great way to start the run. And I really needed it because the next game, Pikmin 2, I was really dreading. This is because Pikmin 2 is generally regarded as the hardest game in the series, and it's also one of the longest. Pikmin 2 also has a lot of things to collect. It has 201 treasures in total. HowLongToBeat.com estimates it will take 20 hours to 100% it. It also has a really annoying treasure at the end of the game that you need 1,000 Pikmin to carry. And since you can only have 100 Pikmin on the field at one time, it means you need 100 purple Pikmin to do it. And let me tell you, farming up 100 purple Pikmin is very time consuming, which is not good in a challenge where you need to be going as fast as possible. But either way, we have to do it, so let's get into it. So we blast through days 1 and 2 collecting the battery and all the treasures in the Emergence Cave while also finding purple Pikmin. Day 3 consisted of me grabbing the strawberry, completing the Hole of Beasts, and the White Flower Garden where we found white Pikmin. After that, I used something called a mum skip to get up on this ledge, which basically allows us to access the second half of the Awakening Wood without having to break down this wall with white Pikmin or need blue Pikmin to build this bridge. This is done by waking up the Creeping Chrysanthemum with our Pikmin, getting it to fall down off this ledge, then using its belly bounce to knock Olimar up on it. I then broke down this wall leading to the Snagrit's Hole and built these 2 bridges by whistling my Pikmin across the water. After the bridges were built, I nabbed the glow piece and obtained the birdie with my purple Pikmin. You're normally supposed to use blues to get this treasure, but if you throw purple Pikmin in a specific way, you can get them up there just fine. Just before the day was over, I collected the Pilgrim Bulb and used this knapsack trick to get into the Bulblats Kingdom without having to break down this electric fence. I've explained this a million times in other videos, but basically, if you lie down as Olimar, Pikmin can carry you back to the Onion. If you do it in specific places, their pathfinding will get confused and they'll just carry you straight up walls. And we can use this to get up on this ledge, and then on top of the stump, and then make our way to the Bulblats Kingdom, where we collect every treasure and end the day. On day 4, we head to the Perplexing Pool and use another knapsack trick to get up on this ledge and obtain yellow Pikmin without having to break down this poison fence. So, I need to quickly mention something. While I was doing this run, I had a cheat on that gave me 999 yellow Pikmin, and even when I turned it off, they still stayed in the Onion. So, to make things fair, I basically limited myself to 20 yellow Pikmin for the entire run, just so I couldn't take advantage of that cheat. But yeah, anyways, I throw some Pikmin over on top of the wall to help grow as many yellows as I can, as quickly as I can. After that, I sweep through the Citadel of Spiders, collecting every treasure, and use a third knapsack trick to gain access to the Glutton's Kitchen without having to break down this electric fence. I nab every treasure in the Glutton's Kitchen and then end the day off by collecting the bottle opener and Velastic pickle lid. On day 5, I use the knapsack trick for a 4th time, getting up on this ledge to quickly grab this dice block. Next, I grabbed the Herpes Cream, found blue Pikmin, and brought back the blue paint. Now, at this point, I only had one more cave left in the Awakening Wood, which was the Snagrit's Hole. And there was a reason I left this cave for last, and it's because there's some treasures in this cave that we need blue Pikmin for, which we only just obtained today and needed yellow Pikmin to get. Well, that's not 100% true. There is a trick called Early Blues, where you can obtain blue Pikmin without yellows, but it's very risky and hard, so I decided against using it in this run. But either way, now that we have blues, we can collect every treasure in the Snagrit's Den which means we now have collected every treasure in the Awakening Wood, which means we can move on to other levels. So I headed back to the Valley of Repose, and the first thing I did is grab the pop can. This is a treasure you can grab on day 2, but due to your limited amount of Pikmin, bringing it back to the ship is incredibly slow. So I decided to leave it until I had more Pikmin so I could bring it back to the ship way quicker. I then spent the rest of the day unlocking the second half of the Valley of Repose and grabbing all the above ground treasures. The spiny alien treat, watch, ring, and crown. On day 8, we came right back to the Valley of Repose and obtained every treasure in the Frontier Cavern, then used another knapsack trick to get into the subterranean complex without having to break down this poison gate, which we quickly swept through, obtaining every treasure. With the Valley of Repose now done, we headed back to the Perplexing Pool on day 9. The first thing I did was get 3 blue Pikmin working on this stone plug that blocks access to the shower room. Then I got some yellow Pikmin working on this electric fence, which you normally need to build this bridge to do, but if you walk on this route and throw some over the wall here, it works just the same. After my Pikmin were finished breaking the stone plug, I grabbed the bobber from this boister and used this scale glitch to clip out of bounds, which just happens to teleport Olimar right back to the base on this ledge. This gives me access to the onion treasure without having to break down this wall with blue Pikmin. Unfortunately though, I didn't know that if you didn't get it back to base before the day ends, the onion just goes right back to the spot you found it from, which is really frustrating and caused me to have to do the scale glitch again on day 10, but whatever. After that was dealt with, I used the same knapsack glitch I used earlier to get into the Glutton's Kitchen to access the second half of the Perplexing Pool without having to break down this wall. I then threw my blue Pikmin up on this ledge and directed them towards the treasure with the C-stick. Doing this completely skips having to do this annoying and tedious scale puzzle. The part was then quickly brought back to the ship with white Pikmin, then I entered the submerged castle and obtained every treasure in the cave. With the day almost over, I used the glitch where you can walk straight out of bounds with the rush boots and the edge of this bridge. This allows you to enter the shower room without having to break down this electric fence. Like every other cave we've come across so far, I collected every treasure in the shower room and then ended the day. On day 11, we came to Pikmin 2's final level, the Wistful Wilds. Now, the Wistful Wilds scare me for a number of reasons. Its overworld was filled with tough enemies, the 3 caves that it houses are the longest and hardest in the game, and it was also home to the treasure, which shall not be named. So, the first thing I did when I reached the Wistful Wilds was head right past the treasure that shall not be named, and enter the Cavern of Chaos, which I actually finished pretty quickly and obtained every part in the process. After that was done, I used this Gatling Groin to destroy these poison geysers in this wall. This saved me a ton of time, because if I didn't do this, I would have to use whites to break down this wall. And I didn't have a ton of them, but by doing this, I can use all my Pikmin, which break down the wall way faster. After it was down, I brought back the nut and mushroom that were behind the wall and grabbed the pinecone treasure as well. On day 12, it was back to the Wistful Wilds, where I quickly grabbed this acorn from this creeping chrysanthemum and headed down the Hole of Heroes, the longest cave in the game at 15 floors long. Thankfully though, I was able to speed through it and get every treasure in only 20 minutes. But don't celebrate, because right after, we have to head to the Dream Den, which is basically just as long at 18 floors, and probably the harder of the 2 caves. Fortunately though, as a seasoned Pikmin 2 veteran, it really wasn't too bad. The cave ended up taking me around 30 minutes, and even the final boss, the Titan Dweevil, only ended up taking me like 5 minutes to beat. The problem was though, even though we had just completed the 3 hardest caves in the game, and collected basically every treasure in the game as well, we still had 1 treasure that shall not be named to deal with. Which, by the way, we need 100 purple Pikmin to carry, and we only had 27. So, I needed to farm up 73 purple Pikmin as quickly as I could, and unfortunately, the best way to do this was to head to sublevel 8 of the Subterranean Complex. This is because sublevel 8 has 3 Candy Pop Buds, which allows you to turn regular Pikmin into purples. Now, there are 3 violet candy pop buds on sublevel 2 of the Emergence Cave, which would make doing this a hell of a lot faster. Unfortunately for us though, Pikmin 2 has a stupid rule that prohibits violet candy pop buds from spawning on sublevels 1, 2, or 3 of a cave if you have 20 purples or more. So, if you have over 20 purple Pikmin like we do, and go to the Emergence Cave, the candy pop buds just won't be there. So, unfortunately, sublevel 8 of the Subterranean Complex is our best option. Honestly though, for all my bitching about it, it really doesn't take that long to get 100 purples. It takes us about 20 minutes and 5 trips to the cave to get all the purples we need. But the part that was really just too much for me was that even when you have 100 purple Pikmin, it takes them forever to bring the part back to the ship. It took them 2.5 minutes to move the Doomsday apparatus from here back to the ship. And I just had to sit there and let it happen. But either way, it's done, we got this bullshit part, and Pikmin 2 is over. So, in the end, I completed Pikmin 2 in roughly 6 hours and 50 minutes, which was a lot better than the 20 hours that HowLongToBeat.com estimated. If we look back at speedrun.com, it was 3 hours and 20 minutes off the world record, and would rank me 24th on the leaderboard. But considering there's only 32 runs submitted, I think it's a lot less impressive than the Pikmin 1 time. So at this point in the challenge, I had already been playing for 9 hours, and the fatigue was really starting to set in. I could tell by the end of Pikmin 2, my play was getting really sloppy, and I was making mistakes that I normally wouldn't make. I would say I was pretty sharp during Pikmin 1, but by the end of Pikmin 2, it was all kind of falling apart. But the unfortunate part was that I still had 2 more games to play through, and the double unfortunate part was that I was a lot less familiar with Pikmin 3 and 4 than I was with 2 and 1. I've beaten Pikmin 3 a bunch of times, but before this challenge, I'd only ever 100%ed it one time, and it was a long time ago. So, needless to say, I was a little nervous going into Pikmin 3, especially since it has 66 fruits to collect, most of which I have completely forgotten where they are. HowLongToBeat.com estimates that Pikmin 3 will take 16 hours to 100%, which seems a little high, but whatever. Okay, so Pikmin 3, like any good Pikmin game, starts off with a tutorial, which I blasted through in only 6 minutes. Then, on day 1, I was able to find Rock Pikmin, save Brittany, kill the Maudad, and collect 3 fruits in the process. On day 2, we discovered Yellow Pikmin and made it to the Phosphat's cave. And even though I didn't have enough time to kill him, I was able to push down this bag, which would make getting back to him on the next day much easier. Oh, and also I was able to collect 5 fruits as well. The next day, I made great use of that bag and headed right back to the Phosphat, killing him, which saved Charlie in the process. The rest of the day I spent gathering fruits, which I was able to amass 7 of. I also tried to kill Shaggy Longlegs without Blue Pikmin, which ended horribly and wasted a bunch of time. So yeah, day 4 was definitely a mixed bag. On day 5, I went to the Tropical Wilds and focused on opening up most of the area by breaking down the walls and building bridges. I was able to get 6 more fruits, including this really annoying one that requires 3 captains and killing this cannon beetle on top of the hill. Also, just like in the Distant Tundra, I pushed down this bag right before the end of the day that gave us a shortcut to the boss. And on the next day, I used that shortcut and made quick work of the Mirror Slug and brought back the Folded Data Glutton and all the watermelon pieces. I was also able to kill Shaggy Longlegs, granting us the kiwi, as well as collect 3 other pieces of fruit. Day 7 was a pretty low-key day. I basically just unlocked Winged Pikmin and got 3 pieces of fruit as well. On day 8, I used this little charge trick to grab these bridge pieces without having to kill the spider and throw Pikmin from the opposite ledge. Next, I made quick work of the Snagret, getting us a juicy apple, as well as collecting 6 other fruits. Unfortunately, I just didn't have enough time to build the bridge before the end of the day, but in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that big of a deal. Because on day 9, we finished building that bridge right away, killed the Storm Maestro, saved Louis, and got every remaining fruit in the Twilight River, which was really only this pair. Every other fruit left required blue Pikmin, so we unfortunately had to move on. On day 10, I tried doing this trick where you send winged Pikmin over this bucket to build this bridge leading to the boss, which happens to save a lot of time because you don't have to build this weird pot thing and do the whole process of throwing each captain across. But for some reason my Wii U kept crashing when I did this. Don't know why, but it meant that I had to do it the legit way, which was really annoying. And because it crashed, I forgot to hit record again, so I don't have any footage of day 10 at all, which was even more annoying. Basically, I collected some fruits and built that weird pot thing. On day 11, I used that weird pot thing to cross over the water and make it to the Myreclops, who I was actually able to kill in a single cycle. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, or how to do it, check out this video here where I one-shot every boss in every Pikmin game. But essentially, it's just killing the Myreclops really quickly, and by really quickly, I mean like under 1 minute quickly. Doing it so quickly allowed me to collect the remaining 7 fruits in the Garden of Hope. These 2 here you can actually cheese with winged Pikmin, which saves you from having to do these annoying scale puzzles. But yeah, with the Garden of Hope now completed, I went back to the Distant Tundra to finish it off as well. I got my revenge on Shaky Longlegs and was just barely able to fish the starfruit out of the water with my winged Pikmin. Then I tried to dig out this grapefruit, which kind of ended in disaster. But I did end up getting the fruit back and ended up nabbing 2 more to grab every fruit in the Distant Tundra. All that was left now was the Tropical Wilds and the Twilight River, and I decided to tackle the Tropical Wilds first because we had the most fruits there to collect. Unfortunately though, I was able to collect every fruit except for this single raspberry that's hidden away inside this Medusal Slurker, that honestly I had completely forgotten about. So I had to come back on day 14 just to pick it up. Then, on day 15, we swept through the Twilight River, picking up the last 3 fruits we needed to collect every fruit in the game. Yeah, that's every fruit. All 66 of them. All I needed to do now was to go to the Formidable Oak and kill the Plasm Wraith, and I was done. Oh, and by the way, I had 83 canisters of juice by day 15. This is why I hate the narrative that Pikmin 3 somehow fixed Pikmin 1's limited day system, because this is clearly insane. Who would ever need 83 days to beat Pikmin 3? That is almost 3 times the amount of Pikmin 1's day limit, for a game that you can finish in 7 days. So don't tell me this system is superior in any way. I can grow all of these fruits in real life in 83 days. This system is trash. But either way, I had a job to do, and do that job I did. I made it through the Formidable Oak in a single day, came back on the next one to give the Plasm Wraith the beating of a lifetime. Ending our time with Pikmin 3, a game that took us 3 hours and 38 minutes to 100%. Which is a far cry from the 13 hours howlongtobeat.com says it takes to beat the game. As far as speedrun.com goes, it would actually rank me 26 overall in the leaderboards, but considering there's only 27 submissions, once again, it's not that impressive. At this point in the challenge, I wanted to do anything but play Pikmin. I had already been doing this for 12.5 hours, which is longer than I've ever played video games for in my entire life, I think. But what gave me hope was that I completed 3 games in those 12.5 hours. And for the 11.5 remaining, I only needed to complete 1. But what I failed to remember is that that one game was maybe bigger than the other 3 combined. And that game is Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 is an absolute monster. How Long to Beat estimates that it would take 18 hours to finish the main story, but to 100% it, it's probably more like the 28 listed here, which actually lines up with the 29 hours it took me to 100% the game a year ago. Thankfully though, we don't have to do absolutely everything. According to speedrun.com, the rules for the 100% category doesn't require Olimar's Shipwrecked Tail, the Sage Leaf Trials, or curing all the leaf lanes. But we still have to collect all the treasures, castaways, onions, and Flarlick in the game's 6 main areas, as well as defeat the final boss to cure Ochi. Which doesn't seem too bad until you realize just how much stuff there is to collect in Pikmin 4. There are 8 onions, 12 Flarlets, 30 castaways, and 859 total treasures. 470 of these treasures are gold nuggets, mind you, but that's still a lot of treasure. So much so that even though we had 11 hours and 30 minutes of time remaining, I was seriously doubting if I'd be able to finish Pikmin 4 in that amount of time. I can beat the game for sure, but 100%ing it seemed like such a monumental task to finish in such a short amount of time. But it was a task that had to be done. So I started at Pikmin 4 and was immediately reminded of how much the tutorial in this game sucks complete ass. It is so slow and you're interrupted so much. I'm looking at you, Cullen. Even when you're past the tutorial, the game itself just feels so sluggish. And this is mainly because of how many load screens there are. When you start a new day, load screen. When you end the day, load screen. When you enter a cave, load screen. When you go down to another floor, fucking load screen. I felt like the entire time I was playing Pikmin 4, I was fighting loading screens. I don't feel like the other Pikmin games have this problem, or at least they hit it better. It was really frustrating. But either way, it was a problem I had to deal with, but it was just super annoying, so I had to tell someone. Anyways, let's get into how I did. And I'm gonna cover this a little bit differently than I covered the other games. Instead of going day by day, I'm gonna go hour by hour, because this game is so long. If I went day by day, this video would be like 3 hours long. Okay, so with 12 hours remaining, we basically completed the tutorial like I said, rescued Cullen, Shepard, and Russ, 3 members of the famed Rescue Corps. Since there was only 30 minutes in this hour, I didn't really do much else, so let's move on to hour 11. This is where I got to work. I completed 3 caves, the Industrial Maze, Aquaforest Summit, and Hectic Hollows, with the last one granting me the Rescue Corps member Dingo, who, no word of a lie, is the most important character in this entire run. And it might be the only reason I have any chance at finishing this game in under 12 hours. Dingo has a very interesting ability. He's basically a cheat code. If you fail any one of the Leafling battles or Dandori challenges, you'll get this prompt from Dingo that says, "Get help." Now, if you click this button, he'll just do the challenge for you. It'll be like you beat it yourself, but instead of taking minutes to complete, it'll only take seconds. And it gets better, because you don't actually have to fail the challenge to get this prompt. You can just press start, hit end Dandori battle, and the prompt will show up just the same. So this Dandori battle against Olimar that is supposed to take 6 minutes, I can literally finish in seconds. It is crazy how strong this is in this type of challenge. Dingo is our Lord and Savior, our MVP. He is the only reason we actually have a chance at doing this. Yeah, because even after all of this, we're only 71% done the Sunspeckled Terrace. It's been an hour and a half, and all I've done is complete the tutorial and get 3/4 of the way through the first level. We have a long way to go. Next on the agenda was to nab ourselves the Blue Onion, which would give us access to Blue Pikmin. Once that was done, we took care of Dandori Daycare and Battle in the Bots with our good friend Dingo. Then we made our way through Drafty Gallery, Secluded Courtyard, and the Sightless Passage, collecting every treasure along the way. We also collected Yoni, another member of the Rescue Corps, whose special ability allows us to do night missions, which we'll need to do to cure Leaflings and save Olimar. Oh yeah, and we completed the Sunspeckled Terrace up to 99%, which means we forgot a single treasure there, which means we have to go back and waste time all for a single treasure. I forgot to mention that in the last hour, we actually made it to the Blossoming Arcadia, the second level in Pikmin 4. Most of the caves I talked about in the last hour were actually in this level, so all I had to do in hour 8 was finish up the last remaining cave, the Kingdom of the Beasts, and do 2 Dandori challenges, Hotshot Canyon, and Rockaway Cellars. I spent the remaining time collecting every overworld part and was actually able to 100% the Blossoming Arcadia. Since I only got to 99% in the Sunspeckle Terrace, this is actually the first world I 100%ed. So I was 3.5 hours in, and I essentially had 2 worlds completed, which meant I had 8 hours left for the remaining 4 levels, which made me nervous because the remaining 4 levels were not going to be easy. Speaking of those 4 levels, we actually made our way to one of them in hour 7. Where we swept through the landscape, pillaging everything we possibly could. We won another Leafling battle and Dandori challenge, and by we, I mean Dingo. Then we absolutely destroyed 3 separate caves, the Sub-Zero Sauna, Engulf Castle, and Seafloor Resort, which, as you all know, has the most pathetic boss in all of Pikmin. After that, we finished off the final cave of the area, the below-grade discotheque. And with the help of Dingo, we also finished off the last Dandori challenge, which brought me to 98% completion of the Serene Shores, which really pissed me off because once again, I had missed like 1 or 2 treasures and had no idea where they were. But just like with the first level, I decided it was best to come back and deal with it later. Because at this point, I had something I needed to do. I needed to unlock the game's 4th level, the Hero's Hideaway. And to do this, I needed to cure Bernard, the pilot of the Rescue Corps, from his Leafling affliction. And to do that, I had to complete 3 night missions, which is something I haven't really touched on yet. Night expeditions are basically what would happen if you turned Pikmin into a tower defense game. You have to defend these little bases here with your glow Pikmin until the morning sun rises. Once you do, you get a substance called glow sap, which can be used to turn Leaflings back to normal. For some reason, Bernard is always the 3rd Leafling saved, so all you need to do to progress is beat these night missions 3 separate times. Considering night expeditions last for 4 minutes each, it would mean saving Bernard would take me 12 minutes in total. Or at least it would if we couldn't use my boy Dingo. Yeah, just like with the Leafling battles, we can just get Dingo to do our dirty business for us. Unfortunately though, for some reason, you can't just end the night expeditions like you can with the Dandori battles. You actually have to fail these legitimately to get Dingo to help you. So I bought some rock bombs from the scientists here and failed the night expeditions legitimately. Yeah, if you just kill yourself with bombs, it'll end the night mission and you can ask for Dingo's help. Meaning, we can save Olimar and unlock the Hero's Hideaway in like 2 minutes instead of 12. So at this point, it had taken me 5.5 hours to almost 100% 3 levels. Which was kind of scary because I only had 6 hours remaining and there was still 3 levels left. And like I mentioned before, these levels were a lot harder and longer than the first 3. To make matters worse, the nerves were really starting to set in. I was so close to my goal, but still so far away. And all I wanted to do was finish this stupid game. So I hunkered down and did my best to get through the Hero's Hideaway as quickly as possible. I made it through Doppelganger's Den and the Plunder Palace, and then tried to enter the Frozen Infernal without the Scorch Guard, an item that gives your player character fire immunity, which apparently you need to have to enter it, which I didn't know and definitely wasted some time. Other than that, I basically just rode around Hero's Hideaway and collected as many things as I could. The last hour, I got a lot of work done in the Hero's Hideaway, so it was pretty much just cleanup at this point. Me and my boy Dingo took on Hefty Hallway, but unfortunately he couldn't help me in the showdown against Olimar. For For some reason, the option just doesn't show up in this fight, so I had to do it myself, which ended up wasting like 6 minutes of time. And it turns out I didn't really need Dingo's help after all. After that, I was once again at the super annoying 99% mark. But this time, I had the upgrade that showed me where treasures are located on the map, so I could pinpoint exactly what I needed and just go for it. Unfortunately though, to actually get to it, I had to go back through the Frozen Inferno, which actually isn't as bad as it sounds because you can skip right to the last floor. So once I did that, I exited the cave, dropped down, got the Ice Pikmin Onion, and 100%ed the hero's hideaway. At this point, I still had to unlock the game's final 2 levels. To do this, I needed to return Olimar to normal, just like I did with Bernard. I wasn't sure how many glow saps this would take, so I chose the Water's Edge Expedition in the Serene Shores, which gives you 2 glow saps instead of 1. I legitimately completed the expedition once again, and was able to save Olimar, unlocking the game's final 2 worlds. Which I promptly went and did a Dandori challenge and collected some more treasure, which meant somehow, against all odds, I was actually ahead of schedule. Which was good because I was running out of time. I had 4 hours to complete the second half of the Giant's Hearth and the last level of the game. Totally doable, right? Well, maybe. I started the day off by going to the Dream Home and then tackling the Ultimate Testing Range. After that, I had a hot sandy duel against Louie and then did some planning by the pool. Then, I barely managed to kill the Solomon Bulblats before he killed me, and managed to grab the Rock Pikmin Onion. Then, I entered the Cradle of Beasts and actually lost all my Pikmin to the Emperor's Bulblats, which is a fight I had to restart and try again. But once I did, I beat her ass, finished the cave, and 100%ed the Giant's Hearth. With only 3 hours left to go, I was feeling pretty good about our chances. We were only 1 or 2 treasures away from completing the other levels, so we basically had like 3 hours to complete the Primordial Thicket, which seemed like way more than enough. I first tackled the Mud Pit, where I lost all my Pikmin on sub-level 2 because I forgot Ochi can't swim in mud. However, I did restart the sub-level and was able to finish the cave no problem. I was also able to finish the Subterranean Swarm and toggle training with Dingo's help, of course. Then I found something that shook me to my very core. I had forgotten that just like in Pikmin 2, Pikmin 4 also had a treasure that needed 1,000 Pikmin to carry. I thought we were okay. I thought we could finish this with plenty of time to spare, but this changed everything. At this point in the run, I didn't have a lot of purple Pikmin. I wasn't really even trying to grow them because I didn't know that we needed them, and I didn't know where to grow them because I was so unfamiliar with Pikmin 4. I was in full panic mode, and I was running out of time. I only had 2 hours remaining, so I had to kick it into overdrive. I took out the Cliffhanger's Hold and Oasis of Order, which I remember being really difficult on my first playthrough, so I was really happy I could just skip them with Dingo. Then, it was time for the roundup. I went back through the Sunspeckle Terrace, grabbed the lone potato that I forgot, and then I made my way to the Serene Shore to pick up the whistle and dice blocks I had left there earlier. With every level except for the Primordial Thicket now done, I headed back there to complete my final mission, getting this stupid gold bar back to the ship. And it turns out, it was way easier than I thought it was. The Subterranean Swarm, a cave that we had already finished, has 2 purple candy pop buds on its first floor. So all I had to do was enter the cave, get 10 purple Pikmin, leave, and then just rinse and repeat. It actually only took about 10 minutes, so all that panicking I did earlier was basically for nothing. Oh, and I lied. This was not the final thing I had to do. The final thing I had to do was actually much worse. I had to take on and finish the Cavern of Kings. Not only the longest cave in Pikmin 4, but the longest cave in the series at 20 floors long. But I had already come this far, so my only choice was to get in there and Dandori my ass off. At this point, I was already at sub level 12. I felt like I was making really good time. I felt like I could do this. Not that. Anything but that. Please. No, please! The final hour. Literally, only 1 hour remained. I only had 7 sublevels to go, but I was so nervous. I imagine this is how speedrunners feel when they're on world record pace. You're trying your hardest, but the clock just keeps on ticking, uncaring about your feelings, just completely cold. You almost want to plead with it, just ask it to stop ticking for 1 second, just to give you a break, but you can't. The clock doesn't care for you, or your human emotions. All you can do is keep moving forward. We had made it. After 23 hours and 16 minutes, we had made it to our final obstacle. Think about the journey we've been on. Everything we've done to get here. Collected every ship part to help Almar return home. Obtained all 201 treasures to save the president's failing business. Got all 66 fruits to save Kopai from complete and total starvation. And finally, Pikmin 4, where we collected everything we possibly could in every level up until this point. The final obstacle. The final thing stopping me from beating every game in 24 hours. With only 30 minutes remaining, I'm able to take down the beast and finish Pikmin 4. The final time ended up being 27 minutes and 20 seconds for the entire run, which is pretty insane that it got that close. Overall, Pikmin 4 was by far the longest game. It took me 11 hours and 40 seconds to finish, which is almost how long it took me to complete the other 3 games combined. But to be fair, it looks pretty good when compared to my 29-hour casual playthrough of the game. If we look at the speedrun.com leaderboard, I actually land in the top 10. But this is because there's only 9 runs, so I actually got last place. But yeah, guys, that's it. That is every Pikmin game 100%ed in less than 24 hours. And I'm tired. I think I'm gonna take a rest or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll go play some more Pikmin 1. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will catch you in the next one.